I always knew my dad had a favorite, my older brother. But I never realized just how far he would go to protect him. Yesterday it hit me harder than ever. I had just discovered that my brother had ruined the biggest opportunity of my life. Everything I had worked for gone in a few careless, selfish moments. And when I tried to make sense of it, Dad looked me straight in the eyes and said words that froze me. Your brother deserves it. He's been through enough. Hearing that, I felt something inside me break. It wasn't just anger. It was the shocking realization that my own family wouldn't stand by me, wouldn't defend me, wouldn't even try to see the truth. In that instant I made a choice. If my family won't protect me, I will. And this time, I won't hold back. Growing up in our family was like living in two separate worlds. My brother Daniel seemed untouchable. Whatever he did, no matter how careless or cruel, Dad would always forgive him, defend him, and even celebrate him. I, on the other hand, had to be perfect. Every mistake I made was magnified, every misstep remembered. It wasn't that Dad or Mom were cruel, they weren't. But they were blind to the way they treated me. I became the responsible one, the quiet one, the invisible one. My achievements were barely noticed, but Daniel's smallest success was praised endlessly. I learned early on that fairness didn't exist in my family. That realization followed me into adulthood. And deep down I resented it, I hated it, but I never spoke up. Till now. Because after what happened yesterday, I knew I couldn't stay silent any longer. It all started 3 days ago. I had been preparing for the biggest opportunity of my life. A chance that could change everything. I spent weeks working late nights, perfecting every detail, making sure nothing could go wrong. Thought I was ready. But Daniel, he knew exactly how much this meant to me. And instead of supporting me, he sabotaged it. He deleted my files, spread lies about my work, and even told Dad that I blew it like always. When I tried to explain what really happened, Daniel just smirked as if he had done me a favor. And Dad, he didn't question him. He didn't listen. He just said those words that pierced me deeper than anything before. Your brother deserves it. He's been through enough. In that moment I realized this wasn't about mistakes or fairness. This was about favoritism. And I would no longer be ignored. After what happened, I sat alone, replaying every moment in my head. The more I thought, the more it became clear. This wasn't just about one ruined opportunity. This was a pattern, a truth I had been avoiding for years. My dad's words weren't about fairness or understanding. They were about choosing a side, and that side was always Daniel's. Every time he made a mistake, he was forgiven. Every time I was wronged, I was told to let it go, or don't make trouble. For the first time I saw it clearly. My family wouldn't protect me. They wouldn't stand up for me. They wouldn't even try to see the truth. And that's when something inside me changed. I realized I couldn't wait for justice. If no one was going to defend me, I would defend myself. And this time, I would be smart, patient, and unstoppable. After calming down, I started noticing things I had ignored for years. Daniel's actions weren't random. They followed a clear pattern. He copied my achievements and took credit. He spread rumors about me, turning my failures into his victories. And every time, Dad defended him without question. It wasn't just favoritism anymore. It was a shield that protected Daniel from consequences. He had learned he could do anything and nothing would touch him. He acted recklessly, selfishly, cruelly because he knew the world at home would bend for him. All those times I thought it was just sibling rivalry. It wasn't. It was calculated. And now I understood why nothing had ever been fair. This shield that Daniel wore so proudly had turned him into someone dangerous. Someone who could hurt others and walk away without regret. It was time I stopped being his victim. I could have walked away. I could have pretended it didn't matter like I always did. But this time something inside me refused to stay silent. All those nights I worked while Daniel took shortcuts. All those opportunities he ruined. All the times Dad ignored me while praising him. I realized this wasn't just about one incident. It was about a lifetime of being overlooked, dismissed, and blamed for things I didn't do. And I knew I couldn't let it continue. I didn't want to fight with words. I didn't want to beg for fairness. I wanted results. I wanted him to see that actions have consequences. I wanted my life back, my peace and my dignity. So I made a choice. I would fight back, not recklessly, not with anger, but strategically. This time I would win. The first step of my plan wasn't loud or dramatic. It started with silence. I didn't argue with Daniel. I didn't try to convince Dad. I didn't even bring up the incident again. I acted calm, almost distant, as if I had accepted everything. Daniel relaxed immediately. He thought he had won. Dad assumed I had let it go. And that's exactly what I needed, for them to underestimate me. While they went on with their lives, I started gathering proof. Messages, emails, screenshots, timestamps. Anything that showed what really happened. Every lie Daniel told, every file he deleted, every little detail he thought he had covered up. For the first time, I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was preparing. I was planning. And the more evidence I collected, the clearer my path became. This wasn't just revenge. This was justice, built quietly, piece by piece. Once I had all the evidence, I didn't rush or make threats. I stayed calm, collected, and patient. I knew the real power was in letting Daniel underestimate me completely. While he boasted and acted untouchable, I was quietly taking control. The first move was to regain what he had taken from me. I reached out to the company that had interviewed me. I calmly explained the situation, provided proof of my work, and showed them the truth about what had happened. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't yell. I simply laid out the facts. To my relief, they understood immediately. They were shocked, but they believed me. And just like that, they offered to reschedule my interview, giving me a second chance at what Daniel had tried to steal. But this wasn't the revenge itself. That was only the recovery, the first part of my plan. The real impact would come later, when Daniel realized that every lie he had told, every shortcut he had taken had only made his own downfall inevitable. I had turned the tables, quietly, deliberately, and completely. I realized that the most powerful part of my plan wasn't confrontation. It was letting Daniel expose himself. I stayed calm and quiet, acting like nothing had changed. I pretended to accept his lies, to forgive, to be defeated. And he fell right into the trap. Thinking he was untouchable, Daniel started bragging. He boasted about what he had done, how he ruined my project, deleted my files, and manipulated Dad into believing him. He laughed, thinking no one was listening. But someone was. Mom had been paying attention all along. She had noticed the pattern I had pointed out years ago, and this time she recorded everything. Every lie, every smug comment, every careless brag, all captured in clear detail. I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to argue or beg for justice. I simply waited. Soon, Daniel's arrogance became his undoing. His words spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. And the truth was finally in a place where Dad, Mom, and even Daniel himself couldn't ignore it. The seeds of his downfall had been planted quietly, perfectly. The moment Mom confronted Dad, everything changed. He didn't yell. She didn't accuse. She simply showed him the evidence. The messages, screenshots, timestamps, and recordings of Daniel bragging about what he had done. At first, Dad looked confused. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. His mind tried to fight it, to twist it into something that made Daniel innocent again. But the proof was undeniable. Every lie Daniel had told, every time he had manipulated the situation, was laid bare before him. I watched silently as Dad's face changed, shock, disbelief, guilt, and shame all at once. He had spent years shielding Daniel, excusing him, believing in him blindly. And now, for the first time, he had no choice but to see the truth. Daniel tried to explain, to defend himself, but his words fell flat. The arrogance that once protected him was gone, replaced by fear and regret. For the first time in my life, I saw my father speechless. He realized how badly he had been wrong, how unfairly he had treated me. And in that moment, the power shifted. Finally, the scales were balancing. After Mom revealed everything, Dad called me into the living room. I wasn't sure what to expect. Anger? Apology? Silence? I walked in cautiously, but also with a sense of calm I hadn't felt before. Daniel was there too, looking unusually pale and nervous, something I had never seen before. Mom stood quietly, arms crossed, her eyes steady and sharp. Dad sat down, his hands shaking slightly. He looked at me, and for the first time I saw a mix of regret and realization. He apologized, slowly, as if weighing each word, for never listening to me, for always defending Daniel blindly, for ignoring my pain and my truth. Then Dad turned to Daniel. I could see the shock on his face as Dad said words I never imagined hearing. You need to fix this. You've gone too far. Daniel opened his mouth, but no words came out. He realized he had finally crossed a line he couldn't manipulate or excuse. And then Dad looked at me again, this time with understanding, almost remorseful. The tension in the room was thick, but I stayed silent. I didn't need to explain myself. I didn't need to justify the revenge I had planned. Because in that moment I realized something. My plan had worked. The truth had spoken for itself, and Daniel had no choice but to face the consequences of his own actions. Standing in that room watching everyone finally see the truth, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control. For once I wasn't the one being blamed. I wasn't the one being silenced. Daniel was. And Dad couldn't deny it anymore. But even then I didn't shout. I didn't throw insults or try to make them feel what I had felt for years. That wasn't the point of my revenge. My goal was never to destroy anyone. It was to reclaim myself. So I took a deep breath and said the only words Daniel needed to hear. I'm done taking the blame for things you do. His face froze. He wasn't used to me standing up for myself. He wasn't used to consequences. And now everything he had built on lies was falling apart. I didn't argue further. I didn't wait for more apologies or excuses. I simply grabbed my bag and walked out the door. I didn't slam it, I didn't need to. The silence said more than anger ever could. I headed straight to my rescheduled interview, knowing I had earned this moment. My future was finally mine again, untouched by Daniel's jealousy or Dad's favoritism. And the best part? My revenge didn't require cruelty. It didn't require hurting anyone. It simply required the truth. Daniel was left to face the mess he created, without me to clean it up and without Dad to hide behind. I had finally set myself free. Sometimes revenge isn't about hurting someone back. It's not about shouting, arguing, or making someone pay in the moment. True revenge can be quiet, calculated, and powerful, like letting the truth speak for itself. I learned that the hard way. All those years of being overlooked, blamed, and dismissed taught me patience. They taught me to observe, to plan, and to act only when I had full control. My brother's arrogance, my father's favoritism, and my family's blind loyalty could no longer define me. Revenge in the end wasn't about Daniel. It was about me reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my future. It was about proving, silently without drama, that I would not be a victim anymore. Sometimes the strongest revenge is moving on while the person who hurt you is trapped in the consequences of their own actions. Sometimes it's staying calm while they unravel themselves. I didn't just get my opportunity back. I got my power back. I got my voice back. And I realized that the most satisfying revenge isn't punishment. It's freedom. Because at the end of the day, no one can take your life, your achievements, or your future, except yourself.